Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment of our program is brought to you by A.G. Heinz Company. This week I had to come up with some columns to put these plexiglass barriers on, and it's a building project. So where did I turn? A.G. Heinz Company. They have the best building materials for major contractors and for you and your do-it-yourself projects. Since 1920, that's 100 years, A.G. Heinz Company has been leading East Tennessee in terms of building materials. We used them this week. You should use them for any project you've got. A.G. Heinz Company. All right. As I mentioned in the last segment, on Monday, the SEC's athletic directors got together for face mask to face mask meetings, discussing what to do with the fall semester. Everyone obviously is most concerned about football, and that's where the money is. Tony Barnhart, longtime sports coverer in the SEC, sports writer, summed up Greg Sankey's main points and the main points coming out of the meeting for Sports Illustrated. And let's go ahead and put up what his summary was. First, the SEC has 2 to 3 weeks until it must make a decision on the start of the 2020 season. The SEC is going to take every minute of that time to monitor the numbers, talk to the medical experts, gather the best possible data, and then 3, in order for the SEC to start the season on September 5th as planned, things are going to have to get better. The infection numbers have to be trending down, there has to be consistent testing, and the state of the overall healthcare system has to be good. That's going to require changes over the next 2 or 3 weeks because none of that is being met at the moment. A little later in the show, I actually pulled the numbers from Johns Hopkins for each of the 14 SEC locations. We'll take a look at those later in the show at where the coronavirus is at its worst at the moment inside the league. Also coming out of this meeting, well, first of all, let's get your take on that. I've just voiced my opinion. I don't think that sounds real good. I don't think the numbers are where they want them to be. And I don't get any sense that there are people right now chuckling that we have these up in this part of the area watching this. I don't get the sense that anything's going to change in 2 or 3 weeks. Am I wrong on that? Am I being too bleak?
Well, I don't show me anywhere where numbers are getting better. There are fewer deaths. Maybe the treatment is getting better for people that get sick. But in terms of the number of people getting sick and the way you see people out and about, around the South and other places too, I don't see where anything's what's going to make things get better.
People wearing masks, and the SEC put out a deal on Monday, a tweet showing all 14 coaches in masks. Hey, wear your mask, get football. The replies were nope, not going to. You know, it's the old I'm giving my all for Tennessee, but I won't wear a mask for them. Too bleak or correct that it's just trouble time?
Well, I think Mike mentioned deaths, and you can have your political stance and belief on wear your mask or not, or the death rate and all that. College football standard is not the death rate. That's not where they're going to base whether they bring football back or not. It's much different than that. So keep that in mind when you're trying to use that defense on whether you should be able to go to a college football game this year. I think just a lot of what they laid out in their proposed document of the standards to me was concerning, and it emphasized in what Tony Barnhart was saying that the numbers overall have to get better because they're tied into the community, and it's not just their decision, it's the health areas around it as well.
Josh, I thought it was interesting. Hijack your thought and give you something else.
Yeah, fire away.
We'll never know what brilliant answer you're going to have there. You can throw it in here if you wish, but the SEC went ahead and nixed several other sports, non-revenue sports, until September 1st. They went ahead, nothing in August. Don't do anything. Football is being allowed to continue to do the organized team activities, the workouts and everything during the months ahead. Your thoughts on that? I don't think that's a great look. I understand it. Football makes the money, so if we're going to keep anything, it's football. But if you're saying, hey, it's not safe for these sports, football, you'll be fine. That's not a great look.
Well, the approach they've taken has not been right to this point. I think that was made evident this past week that they finally came up with some kind of guideline for testing when they showed up in early to mid-June and said, we'll hope and we'll see how it goes, and this school and that school has a different approach. So at this point, I don't even know what the argument would be that they've handled it right. Moving forward, I think part of their approach just has to be, we've got to do something if we are going to start September, because otherwise you're going to run into other health issues, including players not being in good enough shape, and then you're going to have injury issues, and trying to balance which is more important. I wouldn't want to be in that game. But I think it's pretty clear that they know they have to have football. They're going to do what they can to have football, and if they have football, then they can make the other sports happen. It can't go the other way.
And to the football, the starting on time point, that was a key part of the Tony Barnhart quote from Sankey, is they're going to have to decide in a couple of weeks whether to start on time. That doesn't mean no college football.
So right, and we'll get to that a little later in the show. There's the possibility of them simply kicking the can down the road repeatedly.
Right. So it's easy to misinterpret that. I want to point that out.
The only other thing I was going to throw out there is you had an AD, unnamed AD, work as a source for Sports Illustrated a couple of weeks ago we talked about, who said that he thinks spring is about more likely than fall. That did not fly, according to most folks you talked to who were down there at the SEC meeting this past week. That is a last gasp scenario, it seems. They do not want to do the spring thing unless it's absolutely the last straw.
Stars aren't going to participate. Your best NFL prospects aren't going to play. So.
Well, yeah, and they're talking about one thing I read said March to May. Okay, if you're talking spring semester and starting in late January and going January to March or February to April, okay. But if you're pushing it all, and you're doing that because you have to, I guess.
Right.
But I don't know how many players are going to play through May. And then if you play to May, you're going to pick up in July and start again for the next season?
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's a lot of football in 5 to 7 months.
Very much. All right. What we will do is talk a little bit more about the scheduling options next. They did discuss different plans, different ways of doing this thing. Interesting things came about it. Could the SEC, ACC, and Big 12 partner up and create some sort of round-robin affair? We'll discuss. Come on back on the Sports Source.